What's good, y'all? I'm here to talk about the Haxorus buffs and changes in this hack. But before I get into that, as a quick little disclaimer, if you are new here, you happen to be clicking on this video, what's good? This is not your run-of-the-mill average ROM hack. 600 plus moves have been buffed and changed in a really significant manner. Every Pokemon is reworked massively to be very viable from the beginning, or at least from when you can catch them, until the very end of the game. Every single Pokemon is great in this hack. With that being said, there are tons of new pseudo-legendaries in this hack, and Haxorus is pretty much a no-brainer. Fun fact, I actually considered them making a semi-pseudo for most of development. However, last minute I decided to make them a pseudo and just give them a little bit more bulk than I had planned and +5 special attack. The main reason I didn't want to make them a pseudo is because I didn't want them to be a little bit too overpowered with their stat distribution, because all of the 600 base stat total pseudo-legendaries in this hack are mixed attackers. However, there will be another one coming up that is actually a 2-stage Pokemon that is actually not a mixed attacker. So I realized that logic doesn't really work, and I may as well just make him a pseudo because he obviously fits that role very well. Other new pseudos include stuff like Magnezone, Kingdra, Exploud, Aggron, Dusknoir, Gigalith, Electros, Haxorus, Steelix, Gyarados, Wailord, Milotic, and there's a bunch of new semi-pseudos as well. But that out of the way, I want to address the typing, because people might look at this and be like, why isn't he Dragon Steel type? 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to have every single type combination appear at least one time in this hack. And Komo-o is no longer a Dragon and Fighting type. Komo-o is a much better candidate for the Dragon Steel type, which I'll talk more about when I eventually get to that in Alola. But all you need to know is that the Pokedex literally refers to his scales as being steel, while Haxorus is just a guy with an axe-shaped jaw. His color scheme and also his general vibes fit the fighting type very much. Gen 9 has proven that fighting types don't have to be martial artists. They do not have to be that. They just have to be Pokemon that like to fight or are aggressive or anything like that. And Haxorus fits that bill perfectly. There is no other candidate for a Dragon and Fighting type in the game, if Komo-o is not one, of course, because, yeah. And Dragon Steel is not a unique type combination. Aggron also shares that type combination now, but they are both very different, Komo and Aggron. And Haxorus is obviously very unique. Dragon Fighting is a great dual stab combination, only really resisted by stuff like Fairy. And Fighting is really nice because not only does it hit Steel and Ice, which both now resist Dragon, you also have, just very good neutral coverage on a lot of Pokemon. The only downside, like I said, is that you can't hit Fairies with your stabs. However, you do have very powerful coverage moves that you can hit Fairies with, like Gunk Shot, Iron Tail, both of which are 110 base power, 90% accurate moves, as well as stuff like Smart Strike, which is incredible on Hustle, on Fracture, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But yeah, ability-wise, great abilities for Haxorus. Fracture and Haxorus both have Intimidate, which is a very fitting ability in my opinion. Also, I wanted to quickly keep justifying that fighting typing. He does have the ability Rivalry, and if you read the Pokedex, it talks about how he's relentless when defending territory and he challenges foes, and he's covered in these armor, and his tusks are very destructive, and just blah, 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 right? I understand Steel typing does fit relatively well, although honestly I prefer Fighting. Even if Komo-o was still Dragon Fighting, I would still prefer Haxorus probably to be Fighting. But I understand the vision and the desire for a Dragon and Steel type. There are 2, don't worry, there are really cool ones if that is what you desire. And Haxorus is very great, and like I said, I wanted every type combination, so no better candidate than Haxorus if it's not Komo-o. With that being said, though, great abilities. Intimidate, great defensive ability in game. You can easily switch that in. You have tons of. You're very bulky because design-wise they are these covered in these hard armored plates. So he has a great 107 base HP because I tried to base HP a little bit more on size now. So he's got 107 HP, 107 defense with Intimidate, makes him incredibly tanky despite having a relatively lackluster defensive typing. Although honestly, Dragon Fighting has some useful resistances. You resist Rock, Fire, Water, Electric, Grass. Now you don't resist Bug anymore, but you resist Dark. So Dark, oh, I forgot about Dark. Resisting Dark is a big deal for fighting types, actually. So you resist Rock and Dark, and then Grass, Electric, Water, Fire as a Dragon type. So those are a lot of resistances. And you don't have that many weaknesses, honestly. The 4 times Fairy weakness is not that big of a deal. Just play smart. And then the 2 times weaknesses, honestly, you can tank a lot of hits with bulkier sets anyways. Your other ability is an incredible offensive ability in Ruthless, which works with moves. Later on, you have 100% crit moves like Wicked Blow and Sacred Sword, which is incredibly powerful. Stab, of course, on Sacred Sword's half. And then you have really good coverage moves as well. And earlier in the game, you have 50% crit moves, so if you slap on a Scope Lens on those moves, you will always crit. And your 147 base attack and 97 base speed are much better. The attack, obviously, is much better with that Ruthless boost. It's incredibly potent how strong Ruthless is with these moves. You also have First Impression, which is infinitely reteachable via TM. That always crits as well, which is really great for Ruthless, and that also works with Hustle on Fracture. Fracture will be used from level 25 to 45 at the earliest, and then it's actually an optional evolution. Same goes for all the other pseudos and semi-pseudos. Fracture is a lot bulkier than Haxorus, and Hustle actually makes him situationally stronger than Haxorus, because a lot of great new moves are now buffed in terms of how they function with Hustle. So Smart Strike, for example, can't miss, gives you +1 accuracy and is great steel type coverage. Draco Jet priority move, can't miss. U-turn, can't miss. Dragon Tail minus priority, 90 base power, can't miss. Very, very strong stuff. First Impression, can't miss. You've got all types of really good stuff that you can abuse. Hone Claws obviously gives you accuracy boost. A couple other things, Finishing Blow, Power Trip, lots of stuff can't miss with Hustle. Reversal, very powerful, coming off of 117 base attack, Hustle, and Stab. His base attack is stronger than Haxorus's, but you have to keep in mind that Haxorus gets a Ruthless boost, obviously, which is also a 50% boost. However, that Ruthless boost is a lot more limiting. Hustle's boost is on literally every move in exchange for accuracy, unless you're running Wide Lens, which is also buffed in this hack to boost accuracy by 15%. There's a bunch of other Hell Let buffs and changes, by the way. You can check those out in the description. Same goes for all the other buffs and changes in the hack. Check those out in the description below. But if you've yet to do so, you just happen to be clicking on this video because you like Haxorus. I like Haxorus a lot too. He's fucking sick. Although honestly, his 3D model's kind of dog shit, and he peaked in Gen 5. But we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, Skull Bash with Hustle is great. It also works with Ruthless. Skull Bash is a 90 base power move that always crits, can't miss, and gives you +1 attack, accuracy, and defense as well. So that's really great with Power Herb for Hustle sets or for Ruthless sets. Battle Cry, great defensive move with Intimidate. You also have Parting Shot with Intimidate, Parting Shot, Intimidate, Molt for reliable recovery if you want it, because they are lizards and dragon reptilian type Pokemon, so Molt is the only reliable recovery move that fit them. And I did want to give them one because, again, they can fulfill a defensive role in game to check a lot of the crazy offensive stuff in the hack. However, keep in mind, Intimidate is a lot less potent because of all the crit moves that are flying around, but it's still a great ability, and not every Pokemon is going to have crit moves on the trainer's side. So, yeah. They keep in mind again. They no longer. Holy shit! Let me try that again. Keep in mind they no longer resist Bug. That's pretty important. But they're still great nonetheless. They have great, powerful coverage. I also didn't mention Stone Edge, by the way. Stone Edge is another Ruthless 100% crit move. So Stone Edge, Wicked Blow, and Sacred Sword are your 3 guaranteed crit moves, as well as First Impression, those are 4. So you don't have to run a Scope Lens with those moves. Finishing Blow also always crits, so that is also Ruthless boosted, but that's a weaker move that you're using more for the utility. Dragon Dance, obviously very powerful. Agility, very powerful. It helps boost your, good but not incredible speed tier. That's the only thing that keeps Haxorus in check, as his speed tier. Not that he would really be that broken if I made him like 102 speed, but I don't think it fits very well for his design anyways, and I try to keep my buffs a little bit more reasonable for what the Pokemon looks like and what they function as, so that's why I didn't buff his speed up at all. Again, you still have Dragon Dance at the end of the game, although that is one of the last TMs you get access to. You can check out those in the description below as well. In general, though, great Pokemon. Powerful stab moves. You got Cross Chops, Dragon Claw for stab for Ruthless earlier on, as well as Laceration, Night Slash, Jagged Edge, and X Scissor. So you have good steel and rock coverage, as well as dark coverage there. So he's a great mon. Great, strong, offensive Pokemon. Again, Fracture. I low-key like Fracture's design more. It's hard to pick. Haxorus is also fucking sick. They're both awesome. But yeah, Axew is great for the early game. It has Defiant instead of Intimidate, just because I don't really buy the logic of Intimidate on Axew, and Defiant is really nice early game, especially. It's good in general, but situational later on. In game, though, it's great with all of the stat dropping moves that are flying around. Like, in this case, you have Leer and Scary Face, for example. Every Pokemon gets at least like 2 to 3 stat dropping moves. You also have Breaking Swipe and Skirmish, which are both stab moves that always drop the opponent's attack and special attack stat by 1. And those are 70 base power, so those are great in conjunction with Intimidate on Fracture. You can run a great bulky set, and the beautiful thing is that you do have access to infinite EV training items and infinite ability capsules that you can easily use to switch your abilities and moves and EV spreads around. So you can run max HP, max defense, Intimidate, Battle Cry, Molt for one bot with Parting Shot and just completely neuter anything in front of you. That's especially good for Totem Pokemon. And then you can slap Hustle on for a trainer fight to get that, First Impression into U-turn or Draco Jet or whatever you want to do. Draco Jet is incredible on Hustle, by the way. That's why I think Fracture genuinely has a lot of viability over Haxorus in game. Not to mention he is much bulkier with a Violite, although that does take up a Hell Let slot. Not that Fracture needs to run a Violite. He can still run stuff like Wide Lens, Choice Scarf, super effective Weakening Berries, Focus, Sash. He can still run good items because his stat spread is pretty damn good, regardless of being an NFE, because he is a pseudo. So that's about it. I could cover a couple more things, but I'm going to leave the video off there. You can check out the rest of the changes to all these moves and other good options he has in the description below. Like Dragon Rush, for example, is Dragon type close combat, which is very good. Dragon Stab for Haxorus later on. Dragon Hammer, very strong. All types of great stuff, okay? That's about it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the description if you did. Let me know what you think of these. Subscribe to the channel if you listened this far into the video and you have yet to do so. And I'll be back from a video of a Pokemon coming up. Peace.